guys, welcome to Gravity 2 PDF. In this brief tutorial, I'm going to run over the steps that would be required to take a Word document and start to collect these entries from a Gravity form and then populate a PDF document and send them to somebody in a actual form from your WordPress site. So the prerequisites for this are you have to have WordPress installed, and then Gravity Forms, and then our plugin Gravity 2 PDF. So what I have here is a Word document that is basically a form, and I've gone through and I've created some fields. So these are just underline areas, and basically what you do is you file save this as a PDF. Now I've already done that, and what happens here is you can open your PDF with Acrobat Pro and we can create a form field. And basically to do that, you come over on the menu and you hit prepare form, and Acrobat does a pretty good job of identifying the fields because we created these underlined values in our Word document. And I've gone ahead and created some additional fields. I created a radio group, and we'll be able to collect those fields from our Gravity form and then populate the correct radio button. And you want to make sure when you're creating a group that your fields are all part of the same group. So you can see here we have our group identified, and then we have our options for our radio button, all part of the same group. So that's one thing to be aware of. And then down on our form, I'll show you another couple things that are sort of helpful to understand. When you're collecting a name, it's easier to collect like a first name and a last name as two different fields. And the same would be true of an address. We collect a street, a city, a state, and a zip code rather than just a single address. Now there is a way to collect those and then merge those values onto one line in here. So if you need to do that, we'll go through some more advanced tutorials as we build more tutorials. But this is the easiest way to collect an address. So on this form, we're also going to collect a signature, and we don't need to create a signature area on our contract. And the reason for that is what ends up happening with the plugin is we merge the signature image onto the document. So we don't actually need the place for that. It gets added as a second page or a additional page to your contract or agreement or whatever you're collecting a signature on, and I'll show you how that works. But for now, I have this form complete, so you basically just save your form, and I already have that saved. And the next part of the process is we create our Gravity form. So I've gone ahead and created all the fields that are on our form, and the way I really like to do this is I like to look at my form as I'm creating my Gravity form, and what I do is I look at the name of these and I'll say, okay, well I need to collect a date field, and I'll put a date field on, and then I'll go back to my PDF and I'll say I want a first and a last name, and then I'll say, okay, I want a first and a last name, and I'll keep going down my field and I'll say, okay, well I need a website, okay, and I need a website, and somehow these got out of order, so I'll just put that back up there. And then I have a payment date that I'm going to collect and the radio group option. I'll show you the radio group. So to create this radio group, what we did is we dragged a radio group over here, and we just labeled our radio values on our Gravity form, and they match the values over here on our PDF. So I've gone through and I've made all these. I've prettied up our form just a little bit by adding some details, and if I open this in a new tab, we'll show you what our form looks like. We have detail of what we're collecting, and enter this, and then we have enter the personal details, and then I've also done what is called a scroll box, and the way you can do that is under appearance we have scroll text, and that's part of Gravity forms in their style sheets. So we can say, okay, this is our contract, and so what we're going to do is we're going to collect these names, people will read the contract, and then they'll sign the contract. So let's it looks like I got just a couple things to do here, and then we'll clean this up just a little bit more. And let's, instead of naming this section break, we'll say, you know, agreement, and then we'll say personal details, and then lastly down here we'll say I'm going to label this service agreement. Okay, and then I'm going to update my form, and let me just refresh our preview here. And now we have our form, right? So this is the form that we're going to collect, and we're going to put those values on this PDF document. Now to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our Gravity 2 PDF plugin, and we're going to create a new merge. I've already done this, or started this, and we label this a service agreement, and then we enter the file name, so we can include a timestamp for the name of the file, so it'll get a unique file name. And then what we have to do is we have to upload our file, which I've already done here, and we'll select the PDF that we want to fill out, and then we're going to select the form that we want to use. And what happens is the plugin reads the field names from the PDF and the form, and then we simply match the field from the Gravity form to the PDF document. So what we want to do is select the date and the date, and then we want to add another column. And we go to first name and first name, and then last name, last name. We basically do this for every value on our form. And now these can get as complicated as you want. I mean, this is a pretty simple form. But I will show you here, this payment method with the dash, this is the radio group. So we have option 1, option 2, and option 3. So we take payment method, we got to map that radio button option over to group 1 and check. And then we want cash, cash. And the reason this is labeled group 1 and this is payment method is if we look at our form here, we have the label here is payment method, but then if we look at our PDF, this is group 1. So if we change this to payment method, they would actually be named the same thing. But it doesn't really matter what they're named as long as the mapping is from the field that you want to collect the information on onto the field that you want to put the value on. You can be named anything you want. It doesn't matter. The label is really just so you can keep track. So we have to just go through and collect all of our fields. And I'm going to keep going down here. This is our street. And the reason I know that address 1 here is if I come down here, this field name is address 1, but on our Gravity form I named that street. So it's important to label these cleanly, or something that you can identify what field you're attempting to map here. Okay, and we'll keep going here. We need our state and state and our zip. And actually, I'll show you on the state field what I did here as soon as I do our zip code. On the state field, what I did here is I created a drop down. and I went to bulk add predefine, and I used the US states in the gravity form, and that's how I'll get all of the state fields quickly. Okay, so I got just a couple more to do here. We want our phone number. I think we need email address, and lastly we want our signature field. I think. Let's check this. We got phone number, email address, and our signature field. Okay, so email, and then what we want to do here is we're going to use our signature. The plugin will automatically detect that you have a signature field. We didn't add any quiz fields, so we don't have any of those available. And what we're going to do is an email delivery. So we're going to add an email delivery, and the recipient of our email is going to be the email field. So any email fields in your Gravity form are recipients for the copy of this contract, and we're going to go label this, and attached is your service agreement. And then we're going to add another email, and we're going to label this to other, and we're going to call this, front desk at gravity2pdf.com, and so basically what's happening here is I'm going to email this to the person that sent it, and I'm also going to email this to our front desk people who so they get a copy of when a user fills this out. So we have two more options. We can flatten the PDF, which that prevents it from being edited any longer, and we can password protect a PDF by hitting yes, and we could set a password. Now, when you password protect a PDF, it also restricts several other things like printing and editing. So you may only want to do that if there's critical data. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to do one more delivery type, and that's a link to this right on our confirmation page. So I'm going to copy this short code. So that's an option here, confirmation page download. And I'm just going to save this, and we'll be done. So what we want to do is we're going to add a new page for our form, and we're just going to call this service agreement. And then what we do is we add the Gravity form onto the page, and we publish it. So let's open this in a new tab here, and we should see this is our Gravity form. So I haven't tested this yet, but what we should do is we should be able to fill this out, and we have our agreement here, and we should be able to generate this PDF. So we're going to just call this first name, last name, gravity2pdf.com. Let's do payment date is that date, cash, first name, last name, 2, 3 test, city, or state we'll use Georgia this time, and we'll say 55500. I don't know if that's in Georgia. We'll do 800 555 and then we're going to email this to gravity2pdf@gmail.com, and we'll sign. And what should happen is when we submit this, we should get redirected to the confirmation. Oh, we didn't add our short code on our confirmation page, so to do that, we'll have to go to a confirmation page and say, download your service agreement, and we add our short code, save that. And I guess we'll have to refresh this and redo this. So I want to see. Oh, actually, there we go. So we should open this, and it should be a copy of our service agreement. So here's our date, first name, last name, Gravity to PDF. We selected cache, date, and we should see our signature. What this will do is collect the ID, the IP address from, and the URL, and we are good. So let's do this again here. Let's see here. Let's refresh this completely and use a different name, and we'll call this Bob Smith myawesomewebsite.com. Pick another date. We're gonna pick cash payment. This is Bob Smith, and he lives on 123 My Great Street, and it's gonna be nice city. He'll live in Tennessee. It's gonna be 7777. Phone number of 7. And again, we're going to send this to our Gmail, and Bob's going to sign this. So Bob Smith, and we're going to submit it. So here you go. We have our link, and we can open our link, and we should see Bob Smith, the date, my awesome website. He's paying by cash, and here's his details, and boom, there's Bob Smith. I'm not sure how that got in there. I don't think I saw that on our signer page, but it happened. So user's IP, and this is our signer page. So that's how we can create automated documentation using Gravity to PDF. And I'm sure if I go over to Gmail, we will have delivered our service agreements. And there's the one from the first one we submitted, and the next one is not quite there yet. But that's how we can create automated documentation right on a PDF using Gravity to PDF and Gravity Forms plugin. This merge